All right, thank you so much. I call her Madam Edo, but a lot of people call her Professor Edo, because she has graduated from being a doctor. She's now she's a full doctor now. So when she was running our doctorate program, we call her Dr. Edo. But now that she's done, we cannot call her Dr. Edo again, so we have to promote it and call her Professor Edo. Yeah. So thank you so much for the nice introduction. And as much as possible, I'll briefly go over what I have. Briefly, an explanation of my journey from undergrad to graduate school PhD. And I will be as fast as I can and hang around in case there are any questions. But I can't promise the length because I'm currently in a meeting with my collaborators and um, the likes, and it's section by section. So we are currently on break. So that's why I can just like jump right in. So to start with, I'm just briefly going to be talking about getting a fully funded admissions to a USA university. And this is as much as possible generic. It is not um, a hard rule or it is not specific. But like I said, this is more like my own journey. Now, getting a fully funded admission uh, from bachelor or master's to PhD level, it's not as complex as a lot of people think it is, but I'm not going to also sideline the fact that it's not going to be offered to you on a platter of gold, which means that you have to work for it. And when you work for it, of course, you'll be able to see the returns. So generally, when you look at the US school itself, the USA schools itself, what they do, especially for PhD now, the basis of my talk is PhD, uh, with PhD in sight, not with masters, because masters have their own specifics. So it's with PhD in mind, and so particularly PhD, in terms of uh, in terms of admissions, getting admission and funding, what they do is that they check your profile holistically. And if I heard what the when I joined earlier on, I heard what the last speaker was saying about your profile, and that same thing also applies to PhD in US, in which they check your profile holistically. And when I mean holistically, is that each aspect of your submission counts. For example, your CGPA or your transcript can't, your statement of purpose or any essay and all essays they ask you to write can't, your letter of recommendations, usually for PhD, they require 3. It can't. So that means you need to know who is actually recommending you. Your resume or your CV also can't. Your GRE scores can't. So everything as much as you can put on your application, make sure you put them. It can't. It can't. And like I said, they consider PhD in USA, generally they consider everything holistically, which means that in case one is lacking, which means that, for example, someone that graduated with a 2.2 or a 2.1 uh, can make it up by having a strong resume or a very strong letter of recommendation, or the GRE or exam scores are very high. So anywhere you're lacking, first note where you're lacking. Now, there are some things that cannot be changed. For example, your transcript or your first class, second class, upper or third class, those things cannot be changed. You don't have control over them. So you can as well build on other things that you have control over. And what do I mean like that? You can strategically choose people that will write a letter of recommendation so that it is so strong that the letter of recommendation in a way will cover up for the deficiency in your transcript. You can do so well on your GRE scores. Now, GRE is a full story on its own, which I'm not going to get into, but just know that GRE is basically like okay, like when we want to enter university in Nigeria, we write JAMB. I mean, JAMB is compulsory, but so GRE is like the jam, but GRE is not compulsory for some universities. For most universities, it's compulsory, but because of the COVID, it became they relaxed the requirement of GRE because of the COVID period. So actually, a lot of schools starting from that COVID period got to waive GRE. So something I should also mention about GRE is for as many people that are interested in US coming to the US, you should not be scared of taking GRE. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a scary exam. Oh, is this, is that," but you should not, because how you prepare for GRE is basically going to be your life for the next 5 years, 4, 5 years. And I believe people doing PhD in, I think Madam Edo, Professor Edo, we testify to it, in which you go to the office from 6 a.m. and you leave at 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. And that's basically your life. So you should not be scared of doing GRE. You just see GRE as you getting prepared to go into school. Of course, getting prepared in terms of you sit down, you study. GRE is not hard. It's tricky though, but it's not hard. You sit down, you study, you look at more specifics, you practice question. You can sit down for 5, 6 hours, not standing up, which if eventually, hopefully, some of us get into a US universities, we will see that sitting down for 8 hours is not, it will become a common thing. It will literally become what you do every day, and you are not, you so much get used to it. So you can look at preparing for GRE and all those exams in that way, in which you're like, okay, I'm trying to get my mind ready. I'm trying to get my body ready to actually enter a or study in a US university. So that's just a little bit on GRE. So don't be scared of GRE. Just look at this as a platform of you preparing for your graduate studies. So, like I put here, if one is lacking, make sure you make sure the others are very strong. The ones in your control, like your CV and resume, I believe what the previous speaker was also talking about, building your CV, putting some things there. Yes, do that. Um, there's a way you can write the most minute of details, and to the reader, it's going to look as though you've saved the world from an impending doom, something like that. So that's just on a lighter note. But there's a way you can actually fashion your what you've done in past, that you make it look so good, so that such that it stands out. That's on your resume, and both on your resume and your statement of purpose. So that being said, once you have your okay, once you have your requirement, then you can start looking for your professors. Now, looking for professor is pretty easy, straightforward. You go to a professor's website, or you go to a university's website to look at the professors, you look at their funding, uh, then you look at you look at their funding, you look at what they have to offer, you look at a particular professor, and then uh, from there you'll be able to apply to that particular professor. So there's a mistake in my slide. I just discovered it. Um, so reviewing your profile, actually, not your profile, your profile. So reviewing your profile. So thanks for that. From looking at a professor's LinkedIn account or university, if you have like some interest in some university, you can look at those university and figure out which professor is in your field of interest. Now, field of interest, it's something that is very, very cogent, because you shouldn't work on something you don't like for the next 5 years of your life. If you don't like it, then why should you spend 5 years on it? So you should really be motivated to do that. Now, of course, there are a lot of specifics to these things. But from LinkedIn, a lot of professors now start posting their openings on LinkedIn, university websites, Twitter. I know I've seen some opportunities there, and a lot of places you can basically find professors with funding, especially, and talk to them. And then from there, once you talk to them, you submit their profile. Once the professor can tell you that, can give you a go ahead, apply, it means that the admission is probably 90% completed, because at that point you just need to basically meet the minimum requirement of the school. So that's left to you to actually meet the minimum requirement for admission. For example, a school may require that your GRE compulsorily must be above like 300. So that's left to you to make sure your GRE is above 300. So that being said, a lot of specifics to everything that I've outlined, and everything I've outlined is in a way still kind of like my journey. And yeah, I will stop here since I was only given a time frame. So I'm going to stop here. And thank you so much, Madam Edu.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ayanfe. So would you please tell us the specific approach you followed, this looking for a professor? How did that happen for you?
So looking for a professor was kind of, like I said, there's still a lot of platforms. So particularly for me, what I did, because in a way I know my background and I know I can't, like some people may have $50 or may have like up to $500 or $1,000 to spend on application fee. For me, that wasn't an option. So with that, I was the first thing I was looking for is a school that in any way have some application fee waivers that I can apply to. And once they have the application fee waivers, I already have my package complete. I apply to the school using the application fee waiver. So I literally don't have to pay for application fee waivers, which is also a key point you should take away, that you don't need to pay for application fee waivers when applying to university schools. And when applying to USA schools, you can apply for free using application fee waivers. And then so that was like my own general guideline. I look at if a school have an application fee waivers, if they do, although before that I have like some specific outlines of school up to 20 that I have in mind. So I was just looking at each of those schools and just keeping track of them, looking at their international profile, looking at their admissions profile in case anything like application fees pop up. And once they pop up, I immediately go ahead. And then how I chose those schools particularly is based on reputation. And once I choose them, I actually go into their website, look at the computer science. I look at the computer science page, look at each of those professors that are there, and look at what their interest is. So from determining what their interest is, I select which of the professor I actually want to work with. And then I send a code email that, okay, I'm working in this area. I said that your area too is this. I would like to work with you. This is my profile. This is what I've done, blah, blah, blah. And I basically do that for all the schools that are in my interest list, sending code emails. And you shouldn't get tired of sending code emails. You just need one yes, right? You just need a yes. So even if it's going to take you 50, I mean, I want to believe that I sent one of 50 code emails, in which some of them I never got any reply. Um, Probably some of them, they never even saw it. So you shouldn't be tired of sending code emails, because like I said, the first thing you have to look at is a professor saying yes. And once a professor says yes to you, you are go. So I was sending code emails so basically I have an outline of schools. I look into the school, I look into their computer science department, I select the professor I like, the professor I like in terms of area of research, and then I send a code email. So that's how I went about mine. Of course, people can have their own more specifics.
Okay. So one more question from me. I don't know if there are other questions in the chat. You've answered some of my questions. I wanted to ask you how many applications you made, but you already mentioned